Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the DJ Sessions Presents the Virtual Sessions. I'm your host, Darren, and right now I'm sitting in the virtual studios in Seattle, Washington, and coming in all the way from London, we have Belle Humble. How you doing today, Belle?
Very well, thank you, Darren. Thank you so much for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here and to be saying hi to everyone out there.
Awesome,
Really
and
as
DJ Sessions land on a Monday morning. Well, Monday
well.
evening for you over there in London. And we got a lot to talk about in this show, but you know what? I want to dive right into something that I saw that kind of blew me away this morning when I was doing my research on you. And it has to surround this song called Gold that was just released with D'Angelo and Francis. Tell us all about that track and some of the successes you've seen with it so far.
Okay, so Gold, yeah, that was a track that I wrote quite a while back actually, as is often the way in this world of songwriting and top line writing. So writing the melody and the lyrics, and so often it's that you're sitting in a room with another writer. In this case, it was with Karen Harding, the amazing artist Karen Harding, and we were just plowing through. I think we wrote about four different songs that day, and that was one of the songs that came out. We actually originally wrote it over a different instrumental, and then after that, put some chords to it. And yeah, that song was then through Peace Biscuit, the management company out in New York. So Bill over at Peace Biscuit helped me to kind of find the right production for that. So it took some time, and eventually we got the production back from D'Angelo and Francis, and all of us loved it. We just thought it was just big tune, big trance tune. And I was like, I haven't done really much trance, to be honest, in terms of featuring on trance. So I was super excited to be branching out into a different genre within the electronic music scene as well. So yeah, that vocal and that track, I think, had a really like quite a strong place and quite a special song for everyone involved. So it was really important that we found like the right fit for it production wise. So yeah, so then that was there was a couple of different mixes that D'Angelo and Francis did, and that made it onto the Harman Van Buren's A State of Trance compilation, which obviously was just super great. And it just, I hadn't released anything for a while as well. And so to just come back and launch myself back into going straight into a state of trance it was just like it was gold. It really was. And then that was, yeah, and it's been released as a single, two different versions of it. And the song itself, it was, it's just like I really like to write songs that can have quite a good feeling when you hear them. So to me, that song was about, I always think about the listener. Like I always think about the people in the dance or when they're listening to it on their own in their rooms or hanging out or like, especially on the dance floor. And I just want to think what is going to like just uplift people, what kind of words, what kind of feeling. And so I like to think that I'm singing to everyone. So anyone who's listening to it, I want to feel like I'm singing to them so that they get this message. And to say you are like gold. Sorry, I'm okay. We're kind of. I have to sing it to remember the words. You are like gold, precious as the highest love. You are like gold, shining bright just like the stars above. So I just really think, God, I want people to just hear that and feel that that's about them. And from a personal level, it was just really about all the incredible people that I've met in my life. I've lived in a lot of different places. Um, I've lived in North America and UK and parts of Europe, Denmark. I've traveled a lot, and I've had the opportunity to meet some incredible people and kept in touch with many of those people. But so some people I might not see for years. So it was like a big shout out to them as well, and just really honoring the connections that we have with people and how much we really need each other as well, like the value of that connection and that divine. It's like it's a divine connection that you have. And then to bring it even more bigger, I also like to think of it as like this connection that I have to myself too, like in sort of like a the higher self of me. So I know I always go all out and I get all very ethereal and very out there with things, but there's lots of different meanings to it. But yeah, it's just super happy that that's come out.
And that made it to the top. I mean, number one position in iTunes. I mean,
Yeah.
what is that from an artist perspective? What does that mean to you when your song hits number one on such a prominent platform? I mean, millions of people are using iTunes to download music. People are using Beatport. They're using other sources, but I know what it was like when we were featured in iTunes and what happened to us when we've been featured there multiple times and the excitement about that. But what was that like for you to see you up there, your name up there in like that spotlight position?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it was like I was on the bus, the number one bus, because that was the compilation was what made it to number one.
Mhm.
So I was kind of a passenger on that bus. So I felt like really grateful and really fortunate. Um, I have had some songs reach number one before that I've written for other people as well, and it's just it's just always like it's a bit of a pat on the back really, and like keep going with what you're doing. That's what I always think. Because being an artist, I don't know if people can relate to this. Anyone could. You don't have to be an artist to relate, or creative person or whatever. But you know, you have your moments, you have your ups and downs, and whenever I something like that happens, I'm just like, okay, no, I'm on the right path.
And you have a very good relationship with Peace. Is it Peace Biscuit?
Yes.
And can you tell us how that relationship started?
Yeah, so that relationship started. I was introduced to Bill when I was out in Canada, just as a phone call, and I needed some assistance because I had been living in London, and then I ended up moving to Montreal. I've got a Canadian passport, and I have gone back and forth my whole life. I really have. And this time I was there, and I wasn't working with a management company at the time, and because I'd left London and decided to just go over there, and I was just hitting up all the publishers and people there, and I basically had some songs coming out and I needed some assistance with the contracts as I um it's not my area of interest or strength, and so it's the part that I just you definitely need a team around you. I think it's really important because I mean not everybody does, but I definitely do. I just hands up admit that like I need help with that kind of thing. So yeah, we just Peace Biscuit have helped me with a few different releases, and I just love the guys over there as well. I have these great conversations with Bill. We chat, and we have um, we have like a very well-rounded relationship. It's business, but it's also friendship, and we're both quite kind of out there with our spirituality too. So we always talk about that kind of thing too. Yeah.
It is for a lot of upcoming artists, that contract portion of business can get really overwhelming and people sometimes don't understand what they're signing or take the time to research what the definitions of everything means. I mean, even with our organization, the DJ sessions, when we bring somebody on board, I think I have 7 agreements. I call them agreements. I don't call them contracts, although they could be looked at like contracts, but just standard boilerplate stuff like personal release form, a non-disclosure, code of conduct agreement, social media agreement, limited liability. So, if you fall down, it's like, hey, you fell down. It's not our fault, just certain service agreements, and putting everything on black and white. That can be a little daunting for the artists that aren't in a hustle and bustle town where those kind of pieces of paperwork are being passed along all the time. Or there might be an attorney or a friend that's an attorney might be able to look it over for them and go, okay, this is what this means. So it's awesome you have that kind of working relationship with somebody that can help navigate those waters for you.
Yeah.
um,
I think it's really important because there's so many terms, and they've, Peace Biscuit, they have been so amazing at getting good deals for me because, often there are standard contracts that you get given, and they are open for negotiation, but you need to know the language and you need to know what you're signing up for, and you need someone there kind of helping, assisting with all of it, as you know, even down to like the credits, the lyric videos, like everything. It's just, it's a big operation behind the scenes that's going on, and you have to approve stuff, and you need someone to get, you need someone as well on your side to be like, no, she needs to approve. Like there's so many different intricacies and layers. So yeah, they've been brilliant at really making me feel really equal as well to the producers, as a featured artist. Or it's not even just a featured artist, but as an and artist. Like all, even in the credits, it's like you can do a feature or you can do an and even those things are quite like they're a big deal in itself, you know.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's really really helpful to have that support, I think. And if you can get it, you know, don't be afraid to ask for it. If you are just starting out, don't be afraid to ask questions either, and ask around, you know, show people the contracts that you've been given, or ask about the terms, because it's kind of a bit like the in a way, there's kind of, there's rules but there's no rules at the same time. So yeah, it's pretty,
Yes.
I find it overwhelming, and I've been working in this industry for years and I still find it incredibly overwhelming.
Mhm.
So that's why I get help. Yeah.
What do you think? What's the best business or partnership or deal that you've ever made?
uh, best business or partnership deal I've ever made. Well, it's just going to have to be, you know, just working with people, like just carrying on from that point. You know, I have worked with different management companies, and I've you know, you're working with a management company, or I've also worked with publishers. I've signed publishing deals, and all of it is just so valuable, I'd say. Like they're all the best deals that I ever made, because as a team that's helped to bring me to where I am today. And also just taking the risk with people. And I really value each and every relationship that I've had along my journey. And sometimes they've ended, and I've moved on, or they've moved on, or whatever it might be. But there's no I've never, you know, it's always been really, I've always just been full of gratitude for every relationship that I've had in the business level.
Awesome. Now, coming to music, what are the three things, if you could name three things that create the inspiration for you to make music, to write music, what would those three things be? If you had to choose three.
Choose three things, three points of inspiration for my music.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Definitely, one point of inspiration is literally, as I spoke to you before with the pre warm up, when we just had a little conversation. I really feel so strongly, and I always have done, about creating music which has like a higher, like a message which is beyond me. So if it's going to benefit and serve people to hear this message within the music that I'm creating, and I say I'm creating it, but I also feel like quite strongly that in a way, I'm very spiritual about all of it, and I often pray before I go to sessions. I'm revealing myself. I don't tell people this in sessions,
Okay.
but I often like say a prayer to. I mean, I don't have a specific religion. I'm very multi-faith about everything, but I have a like a kind of connection to great spirit or divine or whatever it is, the universe. And I always want to create the highest message for the best of all, like the highest good of all. That's one inspiration I have. So that's my big inspiration, and I find that one really helps me to just keep me on point. And also it helps me when I'm feeling nervous and anxious before I write, because I think, well, if I'm just giving it over to this sort of almost like a higher power, then I'm going to, it takes away the kind of ego attachment that I have to writing music, which it can, yeah, it can be quite anxiety inducing for me just to like send songs off. Sometimes I'm like, oh, and you know, and then I get something back a few days later, be like, I love it, it's amazing. But in those few days, sometimes I'm just like, oh God, I'm not sure about it. You know, I have quite a lot of self doubt. So I find that kind of bringing in that kind of more of a surrendering the process to a greater power is helpful. So that's one. Number two, the inspiration. Um, I mean, it's just the people in my life, really, the relationships that I've had, like past, present, and maybe even future, because I really delve into the different relationships that I may have had along the way. And then definitely the ones that I have now. And I find it so therapeutic, So it's like the songwriting process for me can just be incredibly, yeah, cathartic. And it can kind of, sometimes I have dreams about people from my past, and I'm like, okay, why do I keep having a dream about this person? And then I just process that by writing a song around it. But it's usually quite a broad song, so it doesn't have to be specific, but it's like these archetypal um, situations and feelings and relationships come through. So yeah, definitely relationships is number two. um, so I think the next one is probably like, it really is things like nature. And like so many of my songs reference things like light um, and just like the forces of nature in itself. That is really important to me. So I guess it's like people, um, the nature around, and the planet that we're living on, the cosmos, and then something which is just divine, which I can never really put a word to that
Mhm.
power.
Who has been your biggest influence when it comes to your career as an artist, and why?
My biggest influence. Well, I really like to look towards some of the great vocalists that have inspired me, females especially, who I've seen in their sort of someone like Chan Marshall, who's Cat Power is her artist name. I've seen her journey. I've always loved her work, and I just think she's incredible because she's such a unique and very vulnerable and very very honest, authentic person, and she's really open about her struggles and her journeys. And I just think her voice is just amazing. I absolutely love her, and I just think that she's also been very kind of she's like an open book, with both like all her songs and her vocals, and also even in her interviews. I just think she's amazing. So she's one person that I greatly admire. And then I just look to other people who just had such an incredible work ethic and incredible career, like Ella Fitzgerald, or um, some other people that Joni Mitchell as well, just a lifelong artist who's just put so much effort in and gone through such a journey, and they've evolved as well, and they've allowed themselves to evolve. So people like that, whenever I'm feeling like a bit sort of like small, I guess, I look at them and I'm like, no, look how amazing they've done, and like they've done really really well, and they've allowed themselves to just evolve in their careers too.
Is is electronic music your preferred genre of music to work with, or do you have a wide range that you like to work with, or is this just like, oh, this is a project over here and this is a project over here?
Oh yeah, I really love absolutely everything, and I've done so much different work as well, kind of a bit more quietly behind the scenes. So I've come from a background of singing jazz. So I just fell in love with jazz music when I was like a tweenie, and sang it like the show tunes. And I used to go to the weekend kind of jazz groups. And yeah, so vocal jazz is something that's been a really big part of my life. And I've sung in a lot of jazz bands and all the standards and all the rest of it. So that's one area that I just love. I learned how to sing like that. And then I work as a songwriter, so I work with a lot of other artists, and I really am open to all genres. Like I absolutely love it, and I also write music for licenses for like syncs for TV shows and films and stuff like that. So I work on various projects, which I might not even put my actual name, Belle Humble, on. I've got some different pseudonyms that I work with for that work as well, so as not to get the too much of it confused. And I just finished a 4 track. Well, it was, I did 3 songs on there, I think, and it was like electronic, sort of electro, heavy, like rock metal. And I did like screaming vocals on there, and it was so much fun. I absolutely loved it. I really enjoy having the broad scope of working with all different genres. I do a lot of more singer songwriter folky stuff as well. I love just sitting with my guitar, and I also in the last few years have become really I wouldn't say obsessed, but have really been resonating with various mantras from different spiritual traditions around the world. And that's something that I've also been exploring and writing my own melodies to different mantras. So, yeah, I mean, really, it's across the board. I do, I mean, yeah, but I've just sort of had, it's almost as if I kind of fell into working in the electronic music um, kind of umbrella,
Hmm.
With the first, I started off with some small house releases and some jungle releases at the very beginning, and then Cracks is a song that I did, which just blew up in the dubstep scene, and I always, I sort of was like questioning, like, okay, wow, okay, so now I've got this massive dubstep tune. How did that happen? But then I thought back to my youth when I was like 16, 17, and electronic music to me was everything. I was like absolutely obsessed, and I used to go to clubs, jungle music and drum and bass. That was like my coming of age moments were those dance those dance floors, where it was like it was just transcendental. The music was just so amazing to me. It was, yeah. So it kind of made sense, and the vocals that would come through on certain tracks that I'd go out to when I was this kind of a sort of well, a teenager, basically an older teenager. But yeah, back in the days, back in the 90s, you could get into clubs with like just, I'm just going to stay at my friends. No one had mobile phones. Just like, I'm just going to stay at my friend's house, and you're just like, right, get the fake ID out, go into the clubs. It was quite shocking, really, but it was like I was able to experience those moments in that music, and those vocals that came through on those songs, just like so heavenly. So yeah, it kind of made sense, and I thought, you know what, I can be one of those vocalists now that go onto the dance floor, and that feels right to me. It feels like an evolution.
Did you come from a musical family, or is this something you kind of got into on your own?
Yeah, my parents were very musical. They are musical. Um, my dad is really into folk music and plays guitar, and my mum is into all kinds of music as well. And so growing up, they were always singing. I was always singing with my mum in the car. We were always practicing harmonies. Like I learned how to become comfortable with music and my voice definitely through them, because it was just always around me and there was always music being played. So yeah, they definitely just kind of, it just kind of felt quite natural to me. So I did have to work when I was a bit older. I did have to work at it and like put some time and effort into to um to vocal practice and learning songs, and especially the jazz stuff really helped me with that too. But yeah, they both still absolutely love music, and they're both releasing music still. My dad's releasing music, John Humble, he's on Spotify. My mum, Rosie Guilfoyle, she's also releasing music. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Is this a tradition that'll pass on down to your daughter?
Yeah, I think so. I think so, because she loves music and she listens to the words and she listens to the songs, and I play her all these different tunes, and she's just somewhere she's singing out, no, I want that one, I want this one, I want that one, I want that. And so she's tuned into it, which is really makes me really happy for her, because there's so much joy in music, and to pass that on, it feels really good. Yeah.
What's the longest time you've ever spent consecutively working in the studio on a track, on a song, when it comes to electronic music?
Mhm. I would say probably the longest time I spent working on a tune was a song called Phoenix. And that song I wrote in Montreal with some amazing writers out there, with Pierre-Luc Rioux and Marc-André Savageau. Sorry, I'm terrible. I'm trying to do this in my interview, and it's like, okay, what? Try and remember how to say the Quebecois names. Excuse me, guys. Excuse me. Je m'excuse. Yeah, and that was a song that just kind of was there for a while, and we just kept re-recording it, and then we were adding gang vocals where everyone like does the shouting in the room. We spent like, okay, everyone come down to the studio at like 10 o'clock, and so that was like, there was so much recording, so many vocals that went into that until we finally got it to the point. And that was another track that I also worked with Bill Coleman at Peace Biscuit on, and we again sent that to so many different producers. No, it wasn't quite right. It wasn't quite right, and then finally got the right fit for it, and that did really well, and it was like again one of those songs that I felt like I wanted to uplift people, and that got used for the Forza Horizon campaign, which was amazing. So it was just being blasted out into all the gaming shops like in London and like just wherever, and yeah, that was. But it was definitely worth the effort because it is really vibey, and you can feel that, I think, because we put all that effort in, and it's good memories too.
Where is the weirdest moment you've ever heard one of your own tunes play?
Let me think. The weirdest moment. I'll probably just again, I was out in Canada and I was in a bookstore, and one of the songs that I'd written, which was sung by an artist called Paloma Faith, called Upside Down, that just came on. Um, I think, I can't remember the name, like chapters or something, like when you're just in a department store or whatever, and then the song comes on, you're just like, oh God, I wrote this, and you're just in a different part of the world, and yeah, and it just always just makes me just feel like I just get this wave of like excitement and gratitude and just sort of disbelief at the same time that is like being played.
If you took a look at your productions that you've done so far, which one of those, and commercial productions, ones that you've added the name, Belle Humble to, take a look at the list of productions you've done so far under the name. Which one of those stands out the most to you, and why?
Hmm. I think I think probably Cracks would probably stand the most to me because um, I feel like it was really my it was written with quite a few of us as well. There was four of us in the room, and then it was remixed by Flux Pavilion and also Control Z. And so yeah, there was a lot of people involved, but the Flux Pavilion mix really took off, and he was um, he was just starting out in his career. I think he just got out of university studying music, and the production was just immense, absolutely like epic, super epic. I remember hearing it just, oh my god, this is great. I mean, they were all really good productions, like from the freestyles that we wrote it with, and then Control Z. But there was just something very symphonic about his production on it, which really stood out to me. And he was just sort of just making that kind of starting out in his career, and I was felt like I was also in a way just starting out in my career too, because it was like a breakthrough song for me as an artist, and just the fact that the lyrics were so simple but then just so universal, and I really feel like it set me up for being able to just be a voice that had kind of like life philosophy songs, or like a sort of a sort of tone of spirituality and philosophy in there that almost again felt like it was coming through me, as opposed to me just being like, like I could almost put on this persona as an oracle or something. And I love that idea that there's this kind of like, okay, I'm just going to channel this message. Well, it was like quite a few of us, but yeah, that's what it felt like. So that was really something that I think that's probably one of my standout songs that I will always be like a bit like amazed by that it exists.
And what measures do you take to actively promote yourself, your releases, in your career? Is solid PR an important asset for musicians, composers, writers, songwriters to have?
I think it is, and I think I'm realizing that more because I think I've been a bit late in the game of trying to get more into social media and promoting myself more. And I think when it first came out, like I was, signing up for Facebook, and I had MySpace back in the day as well. And so I was like quite into it and everything. I was quite kind of pushing it, and I was comfortable with it. And then I just sort of took more of a step back, maybe as I became more of a songwriter as well, a bit more behind the scenes, and then also I had a child too, and that kind of consumed my a lot of my energy for a while, and it's more focusing on that. And now I do realize that like actually it's super important, and now I actually really feel like I want to as well. Like I wasn't always 100% comfortable with it. And I think that's why if you can team up with a good label as well, that can be really helpful because then you can all work together on it. And I think the fact that I have done quite a lot of collaborations with DJs has also been really, really beneficial because there's a lot of people coming at it. And then also, again, you've got your team around you, you've got everyone's kind of got a piece of that. And so everyone's pushing that out there and everyone's promoting. And I also feel a responsibility to promote it as well because I also don't want to do a disservice to the producers that I've worked with or the label that has signed the song. Like I want to be doing my part, you know. And the more I do it now, the more I'm enjoying it. So yeah, I definitely there'll be more of me out there.
If you could work with one DJ slash producer or producer, you could choose somebody to work with at the top of your list. Who would that be and why?
Yeah, do you know what? I thought this question would be asked, and I didn't think about an answer because I was like, who would it be? I would just say, you know, ages ago I heard Caribou and I was just like, oh my God, this is so, and he's Canadian and I love Canadians. And just really appreciated what he was doing. Um, so I would love to work with him. So, you know,
Hmm?
let's do it.
Have, have you ever gotten shy in the presence of someone famous before?
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. I did a track with DJ Muggs. Um, and he, you know, we spoke on the phone. He reached out to my management and we spoke on the phone and I was oh my God, it was, I used to listen to those go dancing to his music and used to listen to his music when I was younger, like, you know, just I was just really couldn't believe I was talking to him. So I was definitely starstruck when I met him because it was just like, you know, and he's just on the phone with his voice and like just like, oh my God, it's too much, blew my mind.
I've been doing this show for 13 years. Before that, I was in broadcast television. And before that, I was on a hip hop television show in my teens, my late teens, growing up, early 20s. And there are still those moments where you think you're going to be all composed and all ready to go. And it's like, oh my God, oh, whoa, what's going on? Okay, this is so surreal. And we're getting ready to go back out on the road again. We're going to Amsterdam dance event, ADE, next month. And I'm super excited because it's my first time ever going to Europe, one, and my first time ever going to a major conference event festival like this. And everyone that I've talked to on the show, they keep saying, you're going to like walk down the street and pretty much you could roll a piece of paper up in your hand and throw it. You're going to hit 50 people that are top world name artists, and they're all going to be really cool and be like, hey, how you doing? They're like, hi, how you doing? Like, they're going to be really nice and cool. But it's like, oh my God, here's so, and we're trying to set up a bunch of interviews with everyone too. So it's going to be a kind of whirlwind of events, but definitely it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to that. But
That's going to be amazing. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
And then there's just so many great parties and it's just great vibes. And it's just such a, I haven't been, but I have been to places where there's lots of industry people and writers and artists and DJs and stuff. And it's just, yeah, it's just such good vibes to be part of it all and just to feel that creative energy and
Mhm.
the respect as well that everybody has for each other as well. It's really cool. That'll be so great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Not to listen to what everyone says because especially at the beginning, like literally I got told so many different things, you know, and literally I'd be told different things by the same person, like completely like opposing, especially when I was just getting into the, you know, having lots of meetings with publishers and managers and record labels. And it was just like, I'd hear all this stuff, you know, and just, that was really good advice just to not take like, yeah, listen for sure, take it on board, but not to believe what everyone says around you just because they are part of an industry or because they have a certain role or a certain job. You don't have to believe everything that they say, especially when it comes to your voice, your age, how you look, what kind of style you should do, whether you should be an artist or a writer. And that was a big thing when I first started out. It
Hmm.
was like, are you an artist or are you a songwriter? And I was like, well, I'm both. And it was very much at the time, this was back like, I signed my publishing deal back in 2010 with BMG. And at that time, it was still very much, are you a writer or a songwriter or an artist? And there was this idea that they were very separate. Like you could be a writer and an artist, as in terms of like writing your own music, but now it's thank goodness it's much more fluid now. So people are writers, they work as songwriters, doing lots of co-writes with people for their projects, and they also have their artist stuff going on too. So again, being told that I had to define myself with one or the other, and I kind of listened to it a bit too much. I didn't fully listen to it, obviously, because I've had a career as an artist, but yeah. So just take just listen, but don't believe everything that people say, and make sure that you find your own voice within you that you can really listen to.
And if you can give a production tip or insight to new artists, songwriters out there, what would that be?
I think it's just definitely start just start recording yourself. Just start, just because I've had to do it. I at the beginning of my career, I didn't really have my own setup. I do now, but I would just always be going into studios. So there would be engineers or producers who would be doing all of the recording for me, or all of the engineering or the production. And then in the last few years, I've realized that I've just got so much more scope and also more creativity and time now that I can produce my own vocals, and I can sit in my own home, in my own space, in my own studio, and just like don't feel any way about singing one line over the course of like 2 days until I get it right for myself, until I'm like, that is the one, because so I think that having the versatility of having your own setup, and that only happened as well, like gaining that confidence, because I just sat down and I was like, no, I just have to keep doing this. And it is quite daunting, the production side of it. I think it still is for me. I'm just barely scratching the surface, but I feel a lot more confident with what I'm producing now. And I kind of, I don't like to have regrets, but if I could go back, 10 years, I'd be like, carry on with this. Or even actually, even when I was at school, when I was like 15 years old, doing what is called GCSEs here in the UK. I did music GCSE, and I remember my teacher being like, "You should learn production. I'm going to give you this program." And I messed around with it a little bit, this recording program. But I'd go back and be like, "Okay, keep messing around with it, keep doing it, keep opening that computer, keep going in there and like firing up everything, and just do it, and you will learn." Because you're like, oh, hang on a minute, how do I do that? Well, that sounds good. And then you start listening to music in different ways, and you're suddenly like, oh, I've got producers' ears. I'm getting it. I'm getting it. Okay, what did they do to their vocal there? And like, oh, what's that sound there? And how do I do that? Like, so yeah, it's definitely it's just keep going, just do it. Yeah.
Do you think you would ever stop making music in favor of another art form?
Um, no, I don't think I'd ever stop making music. But other art forms, I think I would love to bring into to my world. I mean, like I've done some voiceover work, which I really enjoy. Like kind of, I've always had a attraction towards acting and the dramatic, which helps as a songwriter, especially because I'm doing all sorts of different genres and I'm using my voice in that way, like different ways, as I said before, like heavy metal and rock or jazz or electronic kind of breathy vocals or whatever. So there's like an acting kind of element to that. And then as something that's also that I've always felt incredibly therapeutic and beautiful is dance. And I've also trained a lot in dance, but I've never really brought that element to what I'm doing. But um, that's also incredibly, that's almost like something that I just do for myself on the side.
Awesome. I've had a great time talking with you about everything. We know we're going to be following up with you and staying up to date with what's going on with your career, Belle. Is there anything else you want to let our DJ Sessions fans know about before we let you go?
Um, yeah, I mean, just this is the same kind of message that I have in the music, which is that you are an amazing person, and life is not always easy, and that that you're not alone, and um, that just keep going, and yeah, it's okay to feel things, and it's okay to be down, and all the rest of it. So yeah, that's it. That the love is always there.
What you said there just sent shivers here because one of our resident DJs, Avian Invasion, puts that messaging in every show that he does, every live stream.
Oh,
Literally, it comes through and you are not alone.
wow.
You are special. And all it
I
comes
know
right through.
that.
Yeah, it's amazing. If you go back and watch some of his past episodes on his, you can find him avianinvasion.com. You can find all his information on our website at thedjsessions.com.
Whoa.
But he definitely, that is part of his messaging when he goes out there. He's a phenomenal artist, musician, DJ, does voiceover work, does everything. Just really, really awesome guy. And right when you said that, it just, like I said, it shivered, like it got goosebumps. My hair was, I was like, yeah. So I
That's what I'm
totally,
talking about. There's that
yeah,
divine. Yeah.
exactly,
Love it. I didn't
exactly.
even know that. I was like, I'm a busy mom as well. And I was like, okay, I want to try and tune in with some of the previous shows, but it just all came to the last minute. I'm definitely looking forward to that. But I didn't see any of the shows, so I had no idea about that. And that's so beautiful. I'm so happy to hear that. It's beautiful.
Yeah, we have a number of shows on our website, but then he has all his contact information, his Twitch channels and everything. They're on his website. We definitely work
Mhm.
in tandem with our DJs to help build their careers as
Yeah.
producers and DJs rather than, we don't make them our own.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're supposed to be like a stepping platform. And I like helping other people out and
Yeah.
helping other people rise and get to their goals. That was the whole foundation of the DJ sessions when we
Yeah.
created the show, was to look at this as like somewhere where you could grow, collaborate, and learn something, and then move on to that next step of your career, and or
Yeah.
help us get you to that next step. So yeah,
Brilliant.
got a
That's
great
amazing.
team of people that we work with. Got to give a plug when I can in there for them and the whole
Absolutely.
crew.
That's
So
what it's all about. Yeah.
so
Sorry.
Belle, if people want to find out more information about you, where can we send them? Where's the best place to go?
I'd say probably Instagram. So I'm Belle Humble on Instagram. Yeah. Because I've been using that a lot more recently, and I'm on Facebook too. But I think those are the two main ones. And I'm also starting up YouTube, so hoping to be a bit more present on there as well.
Not that they sponsor us in any way, shape, or form, but I would definitely check out something called Hello Wolfie.
Mm.
HelloWolfie.com. It definitely is a tool that can help you with your social media needs. I just got my whole team up on it. I've been ranting and raving about it. I've used a number of different platforms out there before, but it's a really, really awesome tool, especially when it comes to social media, kind of managing it all from one place and what you can do with it. And it's very reasonably priced. HelloWolfie.com. Again, no, they're not sponsoring us yet.
Brilliant.
Still
I'll
working
check
on
them
deal.
out. Thank you.
Belle, thank you so much for coming on the DJ sessions today. It was a pleasure having you.
Oh, thank you so much, Darren. All right.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. On
Okay.
that note, don't forget to go to our website, thedjsessions.com. Find us on Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Meta. We're out there, but the best place to go is thedjsessions.com. Don't forget you can find us on Roku, Amazon Fire, Google Play, soon to be Apple TV, through our mobile app, and our VR nightclubs will be grand opening soon in Altspace. I'm Darren, coming to you from the virtual studios in Seattle, Washington. That's Belle Humble coming in from London for the virtual sessions. And remember, on the DJ sessions, the music never stops.